Morning. Fortunate Sunday 10. Yay, here we are. So, to get started here, I'm going to go into this sort of first real action piece of this film. Starting to get to the meat of it. And I'm excited. I'm in pretty good shape of where we're going. We should finish the house this week. It should be done. I mean, the house. I mean, just the framing of the house. And then we're going to move in. And that's where the job gets actually a lot easier. And a lot more fun. But it can also be depressing, too, because you go back and read what you originally written. And you think, oh my God, this is terrible. But then you go ahead and you fix it, you move the furniture around, and it starts to look really nice, and it'll work. I was thinking there's one thing that I don't talk about, or I haven't talked about yet, which is tone. Tone, that's something really nobody ever talks about. They talk about genre. Maybe that's what they mean by genre, is tone, but I don't think so. The word genre is a convenient word to talk about a number of things. It's a comedy, it's an action, it's a rom-com, sci-fi, musical, drama, horror film. But really, I think these things are actually defined by tone. And while there's, let's say, 6 or 7 genres, there's thousands of different tones. And we know each of those tones. Like, every comedy has a different tone. And the kind of tone that is set dictates the kind of jokes that are told. The kind of how far overboard you can go, how far over the top you can go is tone. Same thing with action. The way you establish action dictates the kind of action that you can have in film. But not only that, it dictates the pace of the film. It dictates the structure of the film. The more over the top a film is, often the less structured it has to be. But in action, for instance, with a certain kind of tone, you can do a certain kind of editing. You can smash cut, or even with comedy might be a better example. You can smash cut to things. You can go from a wide shot to an extreme close-up in a comedy for effect, for comedic effect, and it makes sense. Whereas you might not want to do that in Western. It would feel strange. So it's good to be, and that's just talking about lenses, but it can also be used in terms of the suddenness, editorially, the suddenness in which you change location, or the abruptness of which, a scene goes in a drama, for instance. The escalation of emotion is generally gradual. In action, the escalation of emotion can be eruptive. And that all leads to cutting. You go to a drama, like a Jane Austen drama, and you'll never see rapid-fire cutting. Why is that? It goes back to tone. We've learned these rules, or it is a rule. I can't quite figure out which. That the tone you establish allows you to do certain things editorially and in terms of pace, and sometimes in terms of structure as well. And so when I'm starting out a film, it's very important to me to dial in what the tone is, where in those 1,000 flavors of tonality the script lies. And it's quite tricky with this script, or it's fairly tricky. Although there's much trickier examples out there that exist. But it's tricky because it deals with something that's very serious at the heart of it, which is American veterans who become disabled when they're overseas fighting for this country. That's a serious subject, and I don't want to make light of it. But at the same time, I do strongly believe that, hey, they deserve a character like John Wick who goes and kicks ass for them just as much as anybody else, right? So how do you get from a serious subject like that into what is relatively a simple action film that allows you to sort of, in a weird way, go over the top? So you take a serious subject that really should not be dealt with over the top and arrive at a place where the audience wants it to go over the top. And the only way to do that is through serious tonal manipulation as you go through. So to really be conscious of how you're modulating and changing the tone when you're traveling from this very serious portion of the script and getting to the portion of the script where people can pop their popcorn and really enjoy, watching this guy kick some ass. And so that's not a complete conversation about tone. The tone is something to think about, because tone is, in many senses, the keys to the kingdom, which will and can allow you to do things in your script that you might not want to do. If you look at Everything Everywhere All at Once, tone is what allowed that movie to be that movie what it was. It could not have just started in the middle of that movie and became, sort of madcap thing that it was. It immediately started giving you hints all the way through from the beginning, and its tone escalated, as a matter of fact. But it was all tone. I mean, you can say whatever genre you want that for film is, but it's not. It is its own tonal piece. So think about tone. In the meantime, I'm going to go right. Okay, so that finishes that action scene more or less, or at least the first version of it, which will launch us tomorrow into Act 3. We're on page 83 presently, which puts us in a pretty good place structurally, for an action film, which should be generally shorter than other films, I think. Comedies can be even shorter than that. Horror films might even be a little shorter. More dramatic films can be longer, or should be longer, but she puts us on track to sort of wrap this up around page 105, I would say, and we'll see what happens. So anyway, for today, that's all she wrote. Oh, by the way, it occurred to me that there's like, when I started talking today about tone, and it occurred to me that in addition to this exercise in writing a screenplay from beginning to end, and then going out and marketing it, hopefully selling it and getting it made, casting, shooting the movie, posting the movie, releasing the movie, etc. In addition to that, there's a lot of other things about screenwriting and filmmaking that people don't talk about a lot, that I'd like to share. Like, for instance, I just went through a credit arbitration, which is a very interesting process, which I don't think anybody really ever talks about. But for some of you out there, it's a little advanced because you have to be in a position to be fighting for credit. But for people who are doing it for the first time, I have probably some pretty interesting things to say about the way I approach it, and lots of other things that deal with the business of screenwriting, the business of filmmaking. So I'll figure out a format and maybe also do little presentations on various subjects every now and then, and maybe I'll even be able to figure out a way that I can get short questions from the people out there who are interested in this kind of thing, who have very specific questions about issues they may be facing at the moment, or that they've always wanted the answer to. So in any event, for today, Fortunate Son, day 10, that's all she wrote. See you tomorrow.